the studio right now. Delighted to say with myself and Dave is Angela O'Connor, and she's from Leixlip. Hi, Angela.
Hello there.
Now, you have a story. It's not exactly about you. Well, I suppose obviously it involves you, but it's more to do with your daughter, Lucy. Before we get into what she's been going through, tell us about Lucy. What kind of a girl is she?
Well, Lucy's 11 now, and her life revolves around dancing, ballet, Niall Horan, and that kind of sums it up.
Back to dancing.
Yes, back
Pretty
to dancing.
standard 11-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely.
What school is she going to?
She goes to Scull on Foal in Leixlip.
And what's her personality like?
She's very bubbly, very positive outlook on life. Her whole kind of outlook is all about just being determined. And if you don't get what you want, you keep trying and keep going.
Did she get that from you, do you think?
Definitely.
A little bit.
Did she have brothers or sisters?
She has an older brother and one younger sister and one younger brother.
Okay, what are their names? They'll be
Dear.
disgusted if you don't make them famous.
Yeah, well, Will's 15, so you know.
Oh, he's actually more. He didn't want you to say his name.
I
Yeah.
know. Alison is 10 and Dylan is 6.
Okay, right. So she sounds like a fantastic girl. Let's go back in time 3 years, and something happened to the family that changed the outlook forever, I suppose.
Yeah, this time 3 years ago, we'd just come back from a holiday. Lucy had seemed just a little bit more lethargic. And I suppose in a way we were putting it down to she'd been doing a lot of summer camps and everything, and she just seemed more tired. So when we got back, I brought her to our GP, who sent us for blood tests. And a week later, he sent us into Tala A&E. Initially, the kind of concern was her blood, so they were giving her blood transfusions. Then they discovered a mass in her stomach, and they told us they could remove it through keyhole surgery. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and it took them 6 hours to remove the mass, and she was moved to the high dependency unit. At that stage, we still had no idea what was ahead. That was on the Tuesday, and on the Saturday morning, the consultant came in and said the nurse was going to stay with Lucy, and I'd have 10 minutes with him. I didn't really realise. I sat down with him. I was on my own, and he said Lucy has to be transferred to Crumlin Hospital to the oncology department. She needs to start chemotherapy straight away. And you kind of go blank, and I kind of was staring at him saying, like, chemotherapy, what do you mean? And he said, like, it's cancer and it's very serious and she needs to move today. And you have 10 minutes to contact whoever you need. The nurse can stay with her. And I went out to the hallway and I realised, like, obviously I was going to have to ring my husband, my parents, or grandparents. Like, but I held it together because I knew I had to go back in. I had to face Lucy. I had to be chirpy and fun with her, because there was no way I could let her see how worrying that this was for us. So she transferred to Crumlin. She had a central line fitted within 4 days. She started chemotherapy that Friday. Within 2 weeks, she'd no hair and she'd shoulder length hair. So for an 8-year-old, like, that was for her probably one of the biggest things. She's had a lot of surgeries, but then she turned into losing her hair into this whole positive thing of, isn't it great? I don't have to get my hair blow dried and it's fluffy and it feels lovely. And, you know, she just spins everything into a positive. Her scar, she's a lot of scars on her stomach. I made the mistake of saying to her when she was older she could get like shark bite written on them. But she's remembered that, so I'm in trouble in a few years' time.
And what kind of cancer was she diagnosed with?
So she had what's called a B-cell acute lymphatic lymphoma. I still can't say it 3 years on. And the treatment for that is a very aggressive chemotherapy, because for children's cancer, it's treated differently. Children's cancer, because children are growing, their cancer treatment has to be fairly radical and fairly aggressive because their cells are constantly multiplying because they're growing. Whereas as adults, there's a stage protocol for cancer treatment.
And what does that mean when you say aggressive treatment? Like in real terms, what does that mean when she walks in?
She had 18 rounds of chemotherapy, 3 different types of chemotherapy. And these chemotherapies basically obviously cause her hair loss, but also her whole immune system was gone. She had to stay in isolation for 6 months. She couldn't leave the house. We couldn't have anybody call to the house unless they, wore a mask. She had to wear a mask going out. Everyone had to wear gloves. You kind of go into this whole other world, like St. John's Oncology Ward in Crumlin. When you walk through those doors, you've changed as a parent. And you come out, none of the parents want to be there, but we all have something in common. And it's that living in that kind of fear of your child, you just don't know. Like, there's 200 children in Ireland diagnosed every year with cancer, and unfortunately, only 60% of those children survive.
Obviously, you've built up a bond with some of the other parents who you've met, through these circumstances. But what is other people's reaction when you tell them, well, my daughter Lucy has cancer?
I think a lot of the time people feel very uncomfortable, as they just don't know what to say. And obviously, 3 years ago, I wasn't very familiar with childhood cancer myself. I would have maybe known one or two people over the years, but I definitely didn't know the ins and outs of childhood cancer. Like, I didn't know that a child could have cancer and still have hair. Like, there's this assumption that if a child's hair starts growing back, they're cured, they're fine. But I think people feel the need, they have to say something, or they have to offer you a remedy. Like, I've been offered so many different remedies at this
Seventh
stage.
son of a seventh son.
Absolutely, for €2,500
Yeah,
for
of
5
course.
minutes. But each to every parent, and I think one things I suppose that worry me about that is that parents are very, very vulnerable in that situation, and you are going to clutch at anything. So if somebody is saying to you, look, I can offer you this is going to sort everything out, I mean, you are going to consider it.
And as a parent of other children, how does one of your children being diagnosed with cancer affect your relationship with the others?
I think, like, I was gone, obviously. Then obviously I was in the hospital with Lucy, and my husband had to go back to work. My parents and my brother, my sister, and my friends all helped out, and neighbours with lifts and drops. But excuse me, it was really difficult.
Yeah.
Especially Alison, because there's only a year between them. They're Northside twins, and they're so close.
Yeah.
So to separate them was really, really difficult. But I think over the last kind of year, we've I suppose I have this thing where I have to make up for all the time that we missed. So every month we're doing something, like going to the Giants Causeway, we're going here, we're going there.
Yeah.
Because I want to make up that time as a family that we missed.
And you can, because how's Lucy now?
Lucy's in great form. She's still obviously attending oncology. She's back actually in 2 weeks' time. And I suppose you're constantly just waiting for them to say, like, goodbye, we don't see you again. That's your dream. Unfortunately, it's kind of 5 years is what you're told at the start, that's the outlook. And then after that, you'll get a break. So.
Yeah. As well as all the emotional turmoil, there's obviously the practical and financial side to all of this. And you certainly found some difficulties when you were dealing with treatment, didn't you, in terms of campaigning to get more help for families who were dealing with children with cancer.
Yeah, I found myself, I suppose it was about 4 months after Lucy was diagnosed, and I had applied for a medical card because I was told it would cover the cost of some of her treatment and for a wig. And as I said, like, she shoulder length hair, she loved her hair, and there's a place actually, Roach's Wig Centre, they were fantastic. My mum and myself brought her, and like, even the photos of that, my mum and myself and Lucy are all laughing in those photographs, even though inside your heart is, especially for like my mum or Nana, like,
How much is a wig?
So a wig was €1,000.
Wow.
And the lady told me that, well, she should have a medical card, and I said, well, we've applied, and so we paid for the wig, and we paid for other treatments. And then in the January, I got a phone call from one of the hospitals to say we had to pay a bill for €4,500. And I just remember thinking, what are we going to do? We're down to one wage, we've a mortgage, we've, all the outgoings.
Did you quit your job to look after Lucy?
Yeah, I had to take time out of work. So I went public about, she was refused a medical card, and I went public about it. And then it was refused for a second time, which was just, at that stage, I think I was done with.
And on what grounds? Is it a
well,
means
initially
test?
it was on financial, but the first financial set we set in, because you have to send in the last 6 months of your mortgage.
But you both have
your
jobs
house
at that
insurance.
point,
Yeah,
and
so
of course, yeah,
we were over. We knew we were over, and we knew the social worker just said, look, you're applying for Lucy, so it's a separate case. I suppose, to cut a big long story short, the public support was just phenomenal. Like, I can't thank the public enough. And Lucy was granted a medical card about a month later, and then last June, all children with cancer are given a 5-year medical card now upon diagnosis.
And
so
that's
they
on the
don't
back of
have
your work
to.
for Lucy.
Partly, I would
Ah,
say
it
there
is.
was a lot of people helping out as well.
Yeah, no, but like, you should be very proud of that. That's helped so many children and so many
just
families
think
in Ireland.
for the stress for a family, it's
Yeah.
stressful enough. And just for one thing to be cut out is nice.
So, what would you like to say from your unique perspective to anyone listening today who is thinking to get involved in Dare to Care?
100% do it. Text, please do. The difference it makes for children with cancer, and just even to talk about children with cancer, and to know that there's families out there going through a really, really difficult time. And if you know somebody in that situation, just reach out to them, because your help is really, really welcomed.
Yeah, so don't let the awkwardness or shyness or embarrassment about not knowing what to do get in the way. I mean,
Yeah.
you found that people just stayed distant because they didn't quite know what to do.
Yeah, and I think then you kind of have to stay distant because you're in an isolation ward, and you can't, you know, and I don't know whether sometimes people take that then that's you're trying to distance yourself from them, but it certainly wasn't, you know. I just think that, if there's a little bit more understanding around childhood cancer, it might help a lot of parents in this situation. And there's so many charities as well that are supported by the Irish Cancer Society, children's charities. They're all in memory of children who've died from cancer. And to name them, but a lot of parents, I suppose, get a lot of support from the different charities
Well, look,
as well.
todayfm.com/dare to care is where we want you guys to go, because up there you get all the information you need to get involved, to do a dare, to get sponsorship, to raise money, or you can very simply just text us right now. Text the word DARE to 50300. That's going to cost €4. And it will donate. Irish Cancer Society will receive a minimum of $3.25. Service provider is Like Charity, and the helpline is 076 680 5278.
And it'll work on a brand new iPhone if you happen to have one of them.
Absolutely.
We don't care what phone you have in your hand. Just text DARE to 5300 and £4 will come off out of your account. Angela O'Connor from Leixlip, tell Lucy and all the kids, send them our love. And thank you for coming into us today.
Thank you very much.
Today FM Dare to Care.